Welcome to Astrotips, tips and tricks for Astroneer. Today's topic: movement. In Astroneer you can learn a surprising number of tricks for getting around. This video has two big sections: moving with objects and miscellaneous tricks. The latter includes movement on foot, using the terrain tool and using the winch. Use the timestamps in the description to navigate or stick around for the full guide. I'm about to break down the move speeds with various objects and vehicles. This takes a while, so feel free to skip to the conclusion, timestamp in the description. This track will be used for measurement, and sprinting speed will be our preference, 100%. While holding a small object, you move at around 80% speed. The only small object you want to hold is an oxygen filter. Keeping it out of your inventory prolongs its life by about 4 times. We may touch on this in another episode. For now, I recommend Zeli's guide How to Oxygen, link in the video description. You can juggle small objects, but I don't recommend it. If done well, you can expect the same 80% speed, but it's hard and errors will slow you down. We'll detail juggling in a bit while we get to larger objects. Holding a medium object, you move at 40% speed. Instead, you will want to grasp them, as we'll show in a moment. The object on display is called a marble. They have no use other than decoration and are also the only medium objects you cannot pack, which is important because with other medium objects, such as research items, you will want to pack them instead of carrying. We'll show that soon. Grasping a medium object, you move at 80% speed. If you have to carry one of these, this is the best way. You can move a medium object by juggling. If done well, this can give you around the same 80% speed, but it's hard to do and errors will slow you down, so it's not really worth it compared to grasping. The reason I used a marble in the previous examples is because with other objects, such as research items, you can simply pack and stow them in the inventory. You mostly want technological research items such as this one, others tend to be useless. Holding a large object, such as a platform, you move at 20%. Instead, you'll want to juggle it or use a winch. Juggling a large object, with enough practice, you can achieve around 80% speed, at least under the best conditions. To juggle, you should sprint, jump, then simultaneously release the sprint button and grab the object, quickly move it forward, then simultaneously release the object and press sprint. Repeat indefinitely. This is kinda hard. You don't have to do it perfectly because the default alternative is slogging at 20% speed. Of course, this assumes keyboard and mouse. I have no idea if this is doable on gamepads. A better alternative to juggling is using a winch. With your superhuman strength, you can tow anything easily. Attach the winch to an object and pin it to yourself or an item in your inventory. A platform on the ground stays on the ground and will detach from you. To get it moving, lift it off the ground first. This lets you move at 100% speed over any terrain with an object of any size, or even with multiple objects. We'll show more uses of the winch in this guide. With an extra large object, such as a shuttle, you can't even move while holding it, so juggling is the default option. As with other objects, if you do it well, you can achieve around 80% speed. And of course, winch is the superior alternative, which we'll show in a moment. As with platforms, a winch is the best way to move a shuttle, except it's even more important because it lets you be mobile on other planets without having to transport a rover. As with platforms, a shuttle on the ground stays on the ground and will detach from you, so you have to lift it before moving. And this lets you move at full speed over any terrain. For perspective, driving a large rover appears to move you at 125% speed over plain terrain, which is the best case scenario. It is much slower on rough terrain, which means moving on foot will often be faster. Ironically, the best way to move a large rover is with a winch. It will be a lot more convenient and often a lot faster than driving it. and we'll show several more examples in this guide. Conclusions and takeaways from the measurements. Juggling small and medium objects is not worth it. Pack or grasp medium objects, juggle large and extra large objects, use a winch as soon as you have access to it, and prefer winching over driving. You can survive fall from any height by sliding at the last possible moment. You have a limited amount of air control, so always look around and try to stray towards a slope if you can find one. You can reduce velocity by clinging to a wall and spamming jump. Potentially, this lets you survive a fall from any height, even from space. To get out after such a fall, use the terrain tool to build a pillar under yourself. The alignment mod helps with that. For more uses of the mod, see the full alignment mod guide, link in the video description. If a wall is rigid enough, you can usually climb it by clinging to the wall and spamming jump. Strafing seems to help, although getting a lift with the terrain tool is usually easier. With the keyboard and mouse controls, you can hold the right click on an object to keep it highlighted as you move. Among other uses, this allows you to eat research samples on the move. Don't be shy of using the terrain tool to bridge canyons and in general to fix rough terrain. You can always travel in a straight line if you want to. Also note that the alignment mode is helpful for keeping your bridges and roads horizontal. Even with large canyons, bridging can be faster than going around. As before, the alignment mode helps to keep the road flat and nice, so always bring it in your backpack. When digging a tunnel, try to maintain a slope that allows you to slide down and sprint up. If the angle is too gentle, you won't be able to slide down, and sprinting up will take longer. If the angle is too steep, you can slide down, but you won't be able to sprint up at full speed, so again, taking up will take longer. An ideal angle is probably between 40 and 50 degrees, and allows you to both slide down and sprint up. Try to maintain that, and don't forget to readjust the angle, because it changes as you dig deeper. The surface of many planets and the caves of every planet are covered in obstacles such as boulders and stalagmites. It's easy to get stuck on those. The easiest way to clear these is using the inhibitor mode. Smaller obstacles disappear instantly, and larger ones take a few seconds, and we're not damaging the terrain. If you only traverse this once, using the winch is faster, but this allows you to clear the ground for future use. The inhibitor mode has many other uses. See the full inhibitor mode guide, link in the video description. You can superpower a winch by pinning it to a small object that you hold telekinetically. This gives you much more control of the large object with the winch. The ideal item for this is the packager, which can be attached to walls and ceilings. That is particularly useful when using a rover in caves, such as a support while digging a tunnel. We may touch on that in another episode. In any case, this allows you to traverse the absolute worst terrain without any trouble. Unfortunately, vehicle drills don't offer that much help with rough terrain. That's because planetary surfaces tend to be full of holes, caverns, tunnels, craters, and undiggable obstacles such as boulders. All of that combines to make drills basically a waste of time. You tend to dig up only to fall down. I recommend not bothering with that and using winches instead to deal with the rough terrain. In early game you have to travel on foot without a vehicle. This raises the oxygen problem. The game teaches you to use tethers. On the positives, tethers are fun, reliable, and great for cave navigation, acting as breadcrumbs. On the negatives, tethers limit your freedom, have fiddly physics, and can be bad for performance. In terms of freedom and range, a stack of tethers extends around as far as half of your oxygen tank. So for surface travel, you want better options. Early on, you should learn to use oxygen filters. A filter refills your oxygen tank faster than you can consume the oxygen, which means keeping it out of the inventory where it's not taken down prolongs the filter's life. This technique extends how long you can live on a single filter by around 4 times, and you can sprint while holding a filter, as we measured previously, at around 80% speed, which is quite decent. This makes oxygen a non-issue and gives you unlimited freedom. You can climb mountains and explore caves while untethered. You can even travel halfway around the starting planet on a single filter. And resin is ridiculously abundant near the surface. The biggest problem is getting lost. We may do an entire episode on navigation at some point. As an aside, I recommend Zelly's video How to Oxygen. It's highly entertaining, link in the video description. The next step from filters is a platform with an oxygenator. You can move such a platform with the juggling technique described earlier in the guide. All you need is 250 bytes and 3 resin for a large platform B. You can get this much sooner than rovers, and this gives you mobile life support and storage, and is quite good for caves and mountains because it's unaffected by terrain. Rovers require aluminum from caves, and the platform helps to get that. But you may also want to skip rovers. As we previously covered, without a winch, rovers are useless for caves and mountains. So you may want to focus on building a small shuttle and getting tungsten from another planet. This gives you access to the winch and the large rover, shortcutting to the best form of mobile storage. That's it for today. I hope you've learned new things. As always, feedback is welcome. Leave any comments and questions below. We have a lot more topics coming up, so definitely subscribe for more Astrotips. See you soon! As a side note, I apologize for the audio quality in these videos. I'm expecting new equipment, so the next one should be recorded with much better audio. Thanks for listening so far.